The silent kid in Chico. In the quiet town of Chico, California, a boy named Aaron Rodgers grew up far from the bright lights and roaring crowds of professional football. Unlike the loud, charismatic kids who dominated the playground, Aaron was different. Soft-spoken, observant, and often invisible in the chaos of adolescence. While others sought attention, Aaron found solace in the stillness, throwing a worn football against the garage door of his family home. His world was small, but his dreams stretched far beyond the endless sky above. Aaron's father, Ed Rodgers, a former college football player himself, watched his son with a careful eye. He recognized the fire flickering quietly inside Aaron. Not the explosive passion that shouts from stadiums, but a steady, patient determination. Ed often reminded him, "It's not about how loud you are. It's about how far you can go when no one's watching." These words became Aaron's quiet anthem, echoing in the moments when doubt crept in. In school, Aaron didn't fit the mold. He lacked the size and swagger coaches usually coveted. The spotlight favored those who could command a room with their voice and presence, qualities Aaron did not possess. His teammates often overlooked him, whispering that he was too slight, too reserved to be a star quarterback. But Aaron's resilience grew in those shadows. He learned to listen more than he spoke, to watch more than he acted. Every missed pass and every sideline critique fed a hunger inside him, a relentless urge to prove that talent could thrive in silence. At night, under the dim glow of his bedside lamp, Aaron pored over football plays and watched tapes of legendary quarterbacks like Joe Montana. He mimicked their throws with exacting precision, shaping his mechanics with patient care. While others dreamed of instant fame, Aaron built himself quietly, throw after throw, repetition after repetition. Knowing that the road ahead would demand more than talent, it would require unwavering belief. Yet the world outside Aaron's backyard was unforgiving. Scouts from big colleges barely glanced his way. Rejections piled up like leaves in autumn, each one whispering that he wasn't good enough. The voices outside were loud, but inside, Aaron clung to a different sound, a still, steady voice of hope. One day, he wrote in a journal hidden beneath his mattress, "They'll see me." This promise to himself was more than words. It was a lifeline. It was the reason Aaron woke before dawn to train, the reason he stayed late after practice, throwing spirals into the wind long after the crowd had gone home. The conflict was clear, a boy with quiet ambition struggling to break through a world that demanded flash and noise. But Aaron Rodgers was not just any boy. He was the boy who believed that silence could be his greatest strength. And so, in the small town of Chico, beneath a sky heavy with dreams yet to be realized, Aaron's story quietly began. Unnoticed, uncelebrated, but unstoppable. The nobody at Butte College. After high school, the path Aaron Rodgers envisioned seemed to narrow instead of widen. Despite his relentless work and quiet confidence, Division I colleges turned him away. Scouts favored bigger, flashier prospects, players who screamed for attention, while Aaron's name remained absent from recruiting lists. For many, this might have been the end of the dream. But for Aaron, it was simply the next challenge. So he enrolled at Butte Community College, a place far removed from the grandeur of top-tier college football. Butte was known as a stepping stone, a proving ground for those overlooked or forgotten. To some, it was a dead end. To Aaron, it was a blank slate. He arrived there not with arrogance, but with humility and a resolve forged in silence. The football field at Butte was rougher, less polished than the stadiums Aaron had once imagined. The stands were sparse, the lights dimmer. The crowd didn't roar, they whispered, indifferent. Yet every morning, Aaron showed up before dawn, the first to lace his cleats and the last to leave the practice field. His throws, precise and practiced, cut through the chilly morning air like arrows. His focus was absolute. There was no need for applause. Every snap was an opportunity, a chance to sharpen his craft, to silence the doubts of others. His coach, a grizzled man who had seen countless hopefuls come and go, noticed something different. Rodgers never complained, the coach would say later. Never asked for a break or an explanation. Just worked quietly, like he knew something we didn't. That quiet persistence soon translated into results. Aaron's passes grew sharper, his leadership on the field more assured. Yet, beyond the numbers and the wins, it was his unshakable calm that set him apart. But challenges remained. The media barely covered Butte's games, and the scouts who came were few and far between. Aaron knew his chances of moving up rested on a single moment. One play, one throw that could rewrite his story. That moment arrived on a cold, rainy afternoon during a crucial game. The stands were nearly empty, but a lone scout from Cal Berkeley sat in the corner, watching intently. With seconds left on the clock and the team trailing, Aaron scrambled under pressure. On the run, off balance, he launched a spiral that cut through the stormy sky, a perfect throw landing in the hands of his receiver for a game-winning touchdown. The scout's eyes widened. He had seen something rare, not just skill but heart. That night, Aaron sat alone in his small apartment, the rain tapping against the window. His phone rang, a voice from Cal Berkeley on the other end. "We want you," the scout said simply. The words were a key turning in a locked door. Yet Aaron didn't leap for joy. Instead, he breathed deeply, feeling the weight of what was yet to come. The road ahead was still long, still uncertain. But for the first time, a door had opened. And Aaron Rodgers stepped through it without a word. Silent, steady, and ready. Draft Day Disgrace. The night of the 2005 NFL Draft was supposed to be Aaron Rodgers' moment. A culmination of years spent in silence, sacrifice, and relentless preparation. He sat nervously among family and friends, eyes fixed on the glowing screen that would soon announce his future. Expectations were high. Many experts predicted he would go in the first or second pick. Yet as names were called one after another, a growing unease settled in. Pick after pick, the players went up, the stars, the flashier prospects, the loud personalities, while Aaron's name remained unspoken. The room's energy shifted from hopeful anticipation to quiet dread. He forced a smile for the cameras, but inside, the confidence he had nurtured since Chico began to waver. The silence around him was deafening. When the 24th pick finally came, and the Green Bay Packers logo appeared on the screen, Aaron's heart raced. Yet the cheers that night weren't for him. They were for Brett Favre, the legendary quarterback who ruled the Packers' offense with an iron will. The media dubbed Aaron a mere backup, a placeholder until Favre's inevitable retirement. Fans questioned the choice. How could someone passed over by so many teams be anything more than a second fiddle? The label stung, but Aaron refused to show it. He remembered his father's words. "It's not about how loud you are. It's about how far you can go when no one's watching." This moment, painful as it was, became fuel rather than fire. In the shadows of doubt, he found clarity. The following days blurred into intense study sessions. Watching tapes, memorizing plays, learning from Favre, the man whose presence was both an obstacle and an opportunity. The locker room was a proving ground, filled with veterans who doubted the newcomer's potential. Yet Aaron stayed silent, absorbing everything with a patient hunger. His drive was not to argue or prove in words, but to demonstrate on the field. The media circled, speculating endlessly about whether Aaron could ever fill Favre's shoes. Every game he played was scrutinized, every throw dissected. Yet amidst the noise, Aaron's resolve deepened. He wrote quietly in his journal, a ritual from his youth. "I'll make waiting my weapon." The months stretched on with Aaron waiting in the wings, perfecting his craft in practice while the spotlight belonged to Favre. It was a test of patience unlike any before. He was not the loud hero announced with fanfare. He was the man preparing for the moment others were certain would never come. On a crisp autumn day, with the world watching, Favre retired. The mantle of leadership passed silently to Aaron Rodgers. It was a new chapter, but the pressure only grew heavier. The quiet kid from Chico was no longer invisible. Now, he had to prove that the man who waited could stand tall under the brightest lights. As he sat alone on the sidelines after his first start, Aaron understood something profound. This was not just about football. It was about every rejection, every ignored moment, every quiet hour spent preparing. This was his story still unfolding. And it was far from over. The man who waited. When Aaron Rodgers finally stepped onto the field as the Green Bay Packers starting quarterback, the world's expectations weighed heavily on his shoulders. Critics questioned whether the quiet kid from Chico, who had been passed over and doubted for so long, could lead a team to greatness. But Aaron carried something few understood, a strength forged in patience and silence, a resilience cultivated in every moment spent waiting. His early games were met with skepticism. Mistakes were magnified. Victories were often chalked up to luck or the team's overall talent rather than his skill. Yet beneath the surface, Aaron's confidence grew. Not the brash confidence of a loud superstar, but the steady assurance of a man who had earned every inch of his success. His passes became sharper. His decisions more instinctive. Season after season, he transformed from the overlooked underdog to a dominant force, winning multiple MVP awards and